legends continue. Since the 1950s, NASCAR has been visiting the Southern Racetrack in Darlington, South Carolina. History and legends made at this racetrack, and tonight, Thursday Night Thunder carries the torch through the pages into round number 12. Aiden Norman and Briley Wright side by side, ready to kick off the action from the Palmetto State. The points leader, the hottest bluegrass bandit on the tour, starting the action. The green flag will wave at Darlington. It's on! Defending series champion Aiden Norman leads the first lap of competition. Kentucky's Briley Wright being followed by Myrtle Beach's Ryan Pennell off of turn number 2. The number 12 Hooters Ford Taurus following Briley Wright in the Good Wrench Chevrolet. It goes Dodge, Chevy, Ford, Dodge. And how about another South Carolinian? The Palmetto State being represented in third and fourth place, respectively. One Jason Alexander in the 5-6 Dodge Dealers Charger, rounding out the top four with Kevin Feemster behind him in that Steve Park liveried number 1. The pride of Rockwall, Texas, Donald Ray in that number 5 car, being followed by Kevin Feemster. Ricardo Catania in the 2-4 sits behind the Texan, headed into turn number 1. A winner in season 4, no wins in season 5, so far winless in this 6th season of competition. Donald Ray in the 5 car, now trailing Kevin Feemster through the corner. And it looks like just more cars scraping along the wall. That's going to be a sound you're going to hear even for the race leader, Aiden Norman, who's not by himself. Briley Wright in the 2.9 Chevy Monte Carlo, just behind the 6.2. Norman went purple, 30.12 seconds. Fastest driver so far. Ryan Pennell in third, losing his grip on second, but Kevin Feemster falling further behind. The number 1 Pennzoil Chevrolet on an island in fourth place. Let's ride along with Feem. I said it last week, and I'll say it this week too. That one car just looks awesome. Shout out to whoever painted that. Maybe Kevin did it himself. Who knows? But fantastic job on that number 1 car. Donald Ray behind him in that black number 5. Richie Catania starting to follow him up. The Orlando native just ahead of Cody Riggs in that number 3. Cody running a special paint scheme tonight for one Mr. Rick Rowland, someone he's very close with. That's throwback there on your screen. Cody did a pretty good job. Have a look. Darlington starting to become kind of the de facto throwback weekend. I mean, if it wasn't already. They've been doing throwback races at Darlington for ages, it feels like now. Everybody always brings just a little more flair, a little bit of the throwback, and a love for nostalgia. And that's what Cody does with this number 3. We're going to talk about a lot of throwback paint schemes tonight, as behind Cody, You see the pass for the 8th position. Thomas Andrews and Jason Alexander running 8th and 9th, respectively. Out of that second corner, Andrews starting to just make a little bit of way for the South Carolinian, who gets right behind the native of Weehawken, New Jersey. 9 laps into this race, 8th and 9th. Catching up to now 7th, Cody Riggs is going to make contact with the turn 3 wall. Andrews looks to the left-hand side. Alexander follows behind the 2. Now he's got to pick what lane he goes with. Andrews left-hand side in the 2. Riggs top side in the 3. Alexander nowhere to go as the sun shines into the cabin of the 5-6, and Bahamian Elrich George brings out caution number 1 on the 10th lap of racing. The number 40 Navy Monte Carlo goes around. Let's see what happened to the man they call Boss. The 18 of Josh Garrison gets right into George. That 2-car pileup on the tail end of the field. Have another look. Oh, and that's just a little late there, but it looks like George just tried to get out of the way. Let's ride on board with the 18 of Josh Garrison. Pictures kind of tell the whole story, so Elrich George possibly having to use one of those fast repairs. We'll see just how long he spends in the pits. He tries to get it slowed down there. He comes in while pit road is closed. You notice the red flashing lights on the entrance. So that'll be an end-of-line penalty for Elrich George, which doesn't matter because he's looking at the end of the line anyway. Aiden Norman coming down for some fuel, no less, and that's going to kind of reset this green flag run. Moneypenny and NF in the chat talking about nerfing Aiden Norman, maybe making him start towards the rear of the field, giving him more cars to pass, and they're talking about his dominant performance last week at Milwaukee. We had cousin Cody Pennell in the booth with us, the Season 5 champion. Just nearly put the whole field a lap down, despite spinning out 3 times. Aiden Norman made his way back to the top and scored his 4th. No, I'm sorry. He didn't win last week at Milwaukee. I have no idea what I'm talking about. That was Noah Belleville. I have no clue. No clue. Everything I said was true. I just got the name wrong. It wasn't Aiden Norman. It was Noah Belleville who put up the most dominant performance I'd ever seen. It was Dover 2 weeks ago. Aiden pretty much just crushed it. He beat Seth Wansing by 11 seconds. All but 4 cars finished on the lead lap, and that's where Aiden scored his 4th victory of the season. He has quite a lead, if my math is right. 51 points the difference between Aiden Norman and one Tom Sears. The 2-time champion is not in today's race, and with 5 races to go in the championship, Aiden Norman opens the lead to 51 points coming into round 12. Seth Wansing also not in today's race. That leaves Dustin Painter and Thomas Andrews, the Season 4 champion. They're tied 7 points behind second place, who's not present tonight. There's going to be a huge shakeup. I mean, huge. We're going to see at least 6 to 7 positions change by the time the night's over. Briley Wright will lead the remainder of the charge. You heard it there. Green flag is out. Ryan Pinnell in the 1-2, the native of Myrtle Beach. Admittedly, a Georgia fan surrounded by so many Gamecocks and Clemson Tiger fans in the area. Ryan Pinnell sitting second as you've got two cars piling up behind you. You've got fourth in points. Dustin Painter, who gets right into Jeff No, the double five, all ahead of season 4 champion Thomas Andrews. No tries to stay along the wall. He's still there. He's grinding up along the wall. Dustin Painter gets around him. Caution number 2 comes out 16 laps into this race. So that's one at lap 10, one at lap 16. Jeff No, Dustin Painter coming together. And let's see where this started. There's a big blink by No in the double five. Maybe that had something to do with it. Dustin Painter running up ahead in the double zero is going to get loose out of turn number 4. There's a defending champion, Aiden Norman, who goes to his inside in car 6-2. Do they make contact? Oh, Painter just gets loose in the corner, heads right into the wall. How about Tommy Withers avoiding all of that? Jeff No right in front of him, and the caution comes out. All right, we got to see this again, but let's ride on board Tommy Withers because this is impressive. No contact from the Virginia pilot. Check this out again. Smooth moves by my man Withers. The driver of the Winn-Dixie Ford uses those soft hands, and he earns himself a Cole Trickle move of the race.
Ice cream! Give me some of those!
Pace car is still out. 18 laps have been completed on iRacing's Darlington Raceway. We're going to take a 60-second break, and we'll be back with more action. Green this time by when we cross the line. Let's try and talk to the Bluegrass Bandit in car 29, one Riley Wright. Riley Wright, Rick James up top. You got me?
Yeah, I got you, buddy.
You're leading this race now. Aiden Norman looks like he came down pit road possibly for fuel. It didn't look like he took any sort of tires. but you get control of the field with Myrtle Beach's very own Ryan Pennell to your outside. What's the plan moving forward? We've already had 2 cautions in 16 laps.
I just keep this thing up front. I know Aiden's going to be fast. I was keeping up with him right there at the beginning of the run, but it was all that I had. So as long as I can keep that, 62 behind me, we might have a chance at it.
Coming to green this time by. What's the strategy? Is it going to be fuel, tires, or track position?
Pedal to the floor.
Give us a show, buddy. You always do. Good luck. Riley Wright will have control. He's got Ryan Pennell to his outside. We're ready to do this. Green flag is going to fly at Darlington. Hold on.
Green flag, green flag.
Cody Riggs in a bit of trouble. He's got Aiden Norman right behind him as they come out of turn number 4. Another one of those Bluegrass Bandits with a mirror full of defending champion. Norman goes to the inside in car 6-2. He's going to make light work of Cody Riggs, but Riggs still holding on the outside. It's a drag race out of the corner. Norman into 6-2. Andrews in the wall, still grabbing wall, trying to stay out of the way of everybody. The Season 4 champion with everything to gain in the points. Scrapes against the wall with a 5-5 of Jeff No getting right up his inside and easily around him. Andrews down to 14th. Ray goes green. Car number 5, Pride of Rockwall, Texas, with Richie Catania behind him with a big tail whip out of turn number 2. Richie on the move, rounding out the top 5 positions. Aiden Norman 3/4 of a second behind them. Drivers only getting 3 tire changes in this race, so you would assume Norman got fuel. But you know what they say about assumptions? And I'm not making any. Further on back, as Richie Catania still tries to hold it together. Check out the drivers behind him. Honeybrink this time in the wall. Withers again having to use those soft hands and those smooth moves to avoid taking a slip into the wrong end, but he avoids contact with the 2-0 and he keeps that 6 car more or less pristine. Cody Riggs at the head of it all. He sits in 7th. Jimmy Kerr in the 7-5, trying to find his way around. Car number 3. Kerr, top side. Does he open the left-hand side for John Honeybrink? Jimmy Kerr, John Honeybrink, 2/10 apart. Tommy Withers in the distance, wondering, is he going to have to do avoidance again? Riggs in the wall. Doug Norris is going to be unhappy as his Kentucky friend grabs the safer barrier out of 2. John Honeybrink in car number 20, following the 3. 7-5-3, 2-0, 7, 8th, and 9th out of turn number 4. Now the 6 of Tommy Withers, rounding out the top 10, wants to put Honeybrink on the bubble of the first 10 spots. Dustin Painter in the 0-0 drives into the sunshine and tries to find his way around car number 6. Dustin Painter having to use his own avoidance maneuvers. He gets into the 10th position. Garrison now behind him. Riley Wright 1 3/4 seconds ahead of the battle for second. Ryan Pennell, Donald Ray, second and third, both up 2 places from where they started. Kevin Feemster in fifth, trying to avoid the wall, but now look who's in fourth. Car 6-2, Aiden Norman. 4 wins already this season. Dobson, North Carolina's Aiden Norman, going for 5 wins tonight if he can keep it off the wall. Further up ahead, Donald Ray, Ryan Pennell. Let's see what they got. Not an easy racetrack by any means. For those that don't know, this egg-shaped oval in South Carolina, shaped that way because of a minnow pond that didn't want to be disturbed. Well, I should say the farmer of the minnow pond, not the minnow pond itself, came out and said, hey, please don't disturb us. No, the person that owned the minnow farm said, don't mess with my minnows, and they pinched in the corners in turn 3 and turn 4, and that's what gave it the egg shape. And I think the front straight used to be the back straight, and vice versa, giving the track its current configuration. They've been racing here since the 50s, and this track not only has seen some of the best finishes in NASCAR history, it's seen some of the best passing, and as Kevin Feemster is going to show you, it's seen some of the best hands trying to keep the race car off the wall. Fishtailing happened a lot last week at Milwaukee. It happened out of Dover, and for the 3rd week in a row, we're going to see cars that are sideways out of turns 2 and 4, and we're going to see cars that look just like this. Kevin Feemster in the number 1 Pennzoil machine, just trying to hold it together. If you've just tuned in, 2 cautions so far, 1 on lap 10, 1 on lap 16, but other than that, been a good race so far. Further on back, Jimmy Kerr the third, Dustin Painter in the 00 to his inside, and Tommy Withers slowly creeping his way up to the front, the Virginian in the Winn-Dixie Ford. He's now in 8th. Caution's out. Caution is out. 34 laps into this race, and that's the 5 of Donald Ray, the Texan, who was running in the top 3, went around. Caution is out. And just when he's on pace for his best performance of the season, let's have a look. This is the battle for second. Donald Ray, Ryan Pennell, Aiden Norman just avoids all of that, and it's Ryan Pennell and Donald Ray who come together for crash number 3. Have another look. So the Texan will come down pit road. Ryan Pennell chooses to stay out with Josh Garrison behind him. 36 laps into this one. Pennell has yet to pit. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with the Myrtle Beach native, and we're going to see what he plans to do about tonight's strategy. about to go green. Ryan Pennell going to lead us to the line. Ryan, Rick James up top. You got me?
Yes, sir.
For all the people back home in Myrtle Beach, half a lap to green. The defending champion, Aiden Norman, starting on the outside of row 2. You have yet to pit. All but one driver, Josh Garrison, coming down under that last caution. What's the plan?
Just try and stay out, lead some laps, and then next caution I'll probably pit. Just try and get a little more fresher tires on my car.
Tonight's the night, man. We'll see what happens. Good luck.
Thanks, bud.
Pennell with control of the field, waiting for the green flag to come out. The 18 of Garrison to his outside. The green flag waves. Let's go racing. Jimmy Kerr coming across the wall in turn number 2. Briley Wright now leads the way. Pennell has given up first. He's about to give up second, and this is where the tires start to play the factor. Briley Wright running away with this one. Ryan Pennell trying to stay out of the way on that worn rubber. We'll see just how far he makes it. It's a bold strategy, Cotton, and we'll see if it works out for him. The one of Kevin Feemster now behind the 1-2, headed up the inside line. The Pennzoil Chevrolet to the inside of the Hooters Taurus, and Tommy Withers in the Winn-Dixie Ford. Behind it all, they wisely avoid the 3 wide. Coming into turn number 1, you're looking at 5th through 8th. Briley Wright goes green. He's got a 1 second gap to Aiden Norman. And I'm sorry, Wright went purple. Fastest lap of the race, 30.04 seconds for Briley. Aiden just behind him, though. 4 wins for Aiden Norman. And just, I think, 1 win for Briley. He's 7th in points. Briley coming away, I think, with the victory at Daytona this year, but he just went purple again. 29.89, and caution comes out for the 4th time tonight, and it's North Carolinian Dustin Painter, and again, Rockwall's Donald Ray crashing caution number 4 out tonight, and the lady in black is really putting a lot of Darlington stripes on these race cars. All right, let's run it back. Let's see what happened. Oh, this started with Kevin Feemster, Tommy Withers, John Honeybrink, nowhere for Painter. And look at that. Riggs almost getting involved in that. Nowhere for Painter and for Ray to go. Check this out. Painter almost winning himself a Cold Trickle Award at that point. Cody Riggs just avoiding that. Have a look with Tommy Withers. Oh, he's already crashed at this point. And this is the lap prior. Yeah, Withers just gets loose out of the corner. Nowhere for Honeybrink to go. Nowhere for Ray to go. No squeezes through. Cody Riggs by the skin of his teeth. And Dustin Painter and Donald Ray just get together. And one more look here, not to put any shame on anybody, but I think Withers just gets loose out of the corner. And that's natural. It's going to happen here. Your race car's fast when it's loose. Nothing that Tommy Withers could do. But that's the brakes, I suppose. Kentucky's Briley Wright leads the way. Moldy. Just using some less than friendly terms to let's see. What have I done? Okay. Yeah, apparently you got flagged for language. I gotta fix that, Moldy. But no, I tell you what. Let me see if I can do something about that. In any case, the lights are out atop the pace car. We're about to go green here, so let's see if we can fix some of these parameters, and we'll catch the green flag here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Green flag about to fly. Restart to complete lap 44. Let's go racing. Riley Wright still leading this one. Moldy, try one more time. Richie Catania in the second position. Kevin Feemster in third. Aiden Norman dropping down to fifth. Here he is to the inside of Jeff No. Check this out and watch Richie Catania get around Aiden Norman. Norman may have just spun the tires on the restart, but Richie just got to his inside. Norman getting a little friendly with the outside wall in turns 1 and 2. He's now down to fifth from that restart, so Riley Wright leads at Darlington, the 2-9 Good Wrench Chevrolet. What? Okay, Streamlabs is apparently not not having fun with it either. Local in the chat cheering for him as well. All right, we got to fix this too. No worries, Moldy, we'll fix this. John Honeybrink sitting in sixth. He just went green. Kevin Feemster also went green. Chevy, your top three. Here comes the Dodge of Aiden Norman getting loose again out of the second corner. These are the same problems that he had at Milwaukee. And Norman really needs to get this under control as well. Jeff No behind him in that double 5. How about John Honeybrink in that 2-0? He's got Ryan Pinnell behind him. Battle in the top three starting to get tight, though. Richie Catania with Kevin Feemster behind him. Aiden Norman now filling in fourth. Here goes the defending champion to the inside of Feemster. All right, Moldy, let's see if we fixed anything there as Aiden Norman now moves into second around Kevin Feemster and Richie Catania, who's scraping that wall. Jeff No moves to the inside with 100 laps to go. Local asking how the points stack up. Riley Wright leading this race as he looks at the points leader behind him. Aiden Norman with a 51-point gap headed into round 12 of 16. Both Tom Sears and Seth Wansing sitting second and third, not in tonight's race. Dustin Painter only 7 points off of Tom Sears. And look at that gap. 7 points between second and the tie for fourth. Jeff No only 3 points behind that. Dustin Painter, Thomas Andrews, and Jeff No all with trouble tonight. Painter looks like he may have DNF'd in the 1-5. Jeff No in that fourth in the fourth position. And Dustin Painter has indeed DNF'd, as has Salem, South Carolina's Jason Alexander. So one of 2 South Carolinians out of this race. Ryan Pennell, who could really benefit from that shakeup. There are the Swag Designs points. Pennell with 406. He only finds himself 36 points off of second place, but considering how many drivers have found themselves in trouble tonight, we're going to find out just who's going to benefit. Again, 4 races remain after tonight. It's going to be a big shakeup in the points. The number 2 of Thomas Andrews coming up ahead of Donald Ray. These two separated by a couple of tenths. This is the battle for 8th. Ray to the inside, just trying to open up the path long enough. Ray's got the run out of turn number 4. Drag race down the line. Local saying catching weight is going to be a challenge. We're going to see just who can manage that weight, especially while the tires wear. Under that last caution, plenty of drivers came down pit road, including Myrtle Beach's Ryan Pennell in that 12 Hooters Ford. He's in 4th. Jeff No's in 5th. Half a second the difference between them. And over the last 5 laps, taking a look at Ryan just cutting into Feemster's advantage. 3 consecutive laps, he's quicker than Feemster in that time, only slower by 1/1000th. Ryan turning up the heat on the top 3. Honeybrink trying to catch up to Richie Catania. And how about Donald Ray now coming up as Catania scrapes along the wall. John Honeybrink now on defense. Ray coming for that 6th spot. Thomas Andrews now behind Richie Catania, who's got substantial damage on the 2-4. Car 2 makes easy work of the Central Floridian. The driver from New Jersey up into 8th. John Honeybrink now again having to deal with Donald Ray behind him. This is what the fight looks like for that 6th spot. .60 laps underway, 90.90 to go next time by. Honeybrink in the wall. Donald Ray has to put on the binders, press that left foot hard into the floorboard, but not hard enough that he gets messed up with the 2-0 of John Honeybrink. Now here comes Season 4 champion Thomas Andrews. That MGD Chevrolet comes up behind that Cheez-It Monte Carlo, a throwback to, I think, Mark Martin. I could be wrong. Catania still struggling. Ryan Pennell gets around Kevin Feemster for the 3rd spot. 1 lap ago. Let's have a look. Pinnell now into the top three. Aiden Norman, 0.8 of a second behind Briley Wright. Look at the lap times over the last 5 laps. Norman consistently quicker than Briley Wright. But again, we say it every single race. It's one thing to catch him. It's another thing to pass him. Briley is not going to make this easy on Aiden. Briley wants a piece of that points podium. You see he's tied for 7th with Ryan Pinnell, and considering every driver in this race, including points leader Aiden Norman, has been in trouble except for Briley. Josh Garrison crashes off that second corner. The Ohio pilot goes for a flight in the wrong direction. Let's see what happened. Just loses it by himself in the Vigoro machine. And he does keep it off the wall. And he just goes on his merry way. All right. Good save, Garrison. Briley Wright still ahead of Aiden Norman, 0.6. Now the gap. Both drivers pitted last on lap 35. Ryan Pinnell, 7 laps after that. He's 0.8 of a second, now 0.9 ahead of Kevin Feemster. And Jeff No slowly catching up, car number 1. The 6.2 gets closer to the 2.9. Let's go on board with Aiden Norman. Even the defending champion can't complete a lap around Darlington without picking up a couple of stripes. 1/4 of a second, the gap now. Right on defense, and he's pressing as hard as he can. Norman now behind him, and it's that close for the lead. Norman's in the wall. He's trailing. And Kentucky's Briley Wright leading the way, taking advantage of the defending champion's error. He exploited a weakness in Aiden Norman, a fault in the armor of the 6.2. Jeff No, 1/4 of a second now behind Kevin Feemster, lining up that pass for 4th. Briley Wright ahead of Aiden Norman. 2/10 now the gap. 68 laps complete from Darlington. The defending champion gives it a skid and an X Games type of tail whip out of turn number 4. The orange sun glowing on the uncertain futures of both of these drivers. Greensburg, Kentucky's Briley Wright versus Dobson, North Carolina's Aiden Norman. The Goodwrench machine versus the Mario Andretti liveried Arcs Dodge through 3 and 4 under the dying embers of sunny Darlington, South Carolina. Aiden Norman now on the outside. The defending champion does it the hard way, week after week. 4 wins this season already, and he looks towards the sun as he marches for a 5th. New leader, Aiden Norman. Wright's never had to chase before. Let's see what he does now. Norman already 0.6 of a second ahead of Briley Wright. John Honeybrink in the 2-0. loses brief control and loses that time to Tommy Withers. Jeff No now watching for Kevin Feemster, half a second behind. Fourth place, now under siege by the yellow wave of Feemster. Drivers last pitting, the latest on lap 42. Cody Riggs from Greensburg, Kentucky, last pitted on lap 66. And if you didn't see at the beginning of the show, Cody running a special throwback to a very good friend of his, one Rick Rowland, who built race cars for a lot of locals over there in Greensburg, Kentucky. Rick special not only to Cody, but to Briley Wright as well from Greensburg, Kentucky. And Toby Estes, the third Bluegrass Bandit, who's not running in tonight's race. Special night for throwbacks, but this one especially. A throwback to the local grassroots racer, Rick Rowland. Thomas Andrews grabbing wall once again. He sits in 7th. Cody's in 13th, so this pass won't be for position. Used to be called COT Tommy in the Xbox days, and now Mr. Andrews trying to find his way into the top 5. Right now, that falls to Kevin Feemster trying to hold off Donald Ray. 0.3 of a second between them. 74 laps going to be completed next time by, and pit stops now looming in the back of their minds. Feemster makes it easy for Ray. Grinds on the outside of turn number 2. The pride of Rockwall, Texas brings his Lone Star talent into the top 5. One and 3/4 seconds the gap. Aiden Norman about to extend it to a full $2 over Briley Wright. Briley Wright catching up to, no, not John Honeybrink, Elridge George, who brought out the first caution in tonight's race. He now sits in 10th. George still persisting. And I'll tell you what, he is the lucky dog. So if another caution comes out, El will get his lap back. How about that? They used to call him the boss, but now people take to calling him the Clearwater Assassin because he's from the Bahamas. Elridge very kindly will get out of the way for Briley Wright, and that's going to earn you style points. That's really what makes you popular, and you get a good reputation for being a clean driver, is when you're able to get out of the way of faster cars like that. I mean, he's in 10th, a lap down. Briley's in 2nd, and he still has every chance to win this race. Hats off to Elridge George. Classy move there out of 4. Briley Wright, 5 seconds ahead of Ryan Pannell as Aiden Norman sails off into the distance. The asphalt seas wait for him, slowly approaching. 70 laps to go. He gets into the wall once again, and it's Milwaukee again and again. Those 3 crashes cost him what could have been a certain win, but again, Noah Belleville putting in just an unreal performance. And Norman, 3 seconds. The gap now, we'll see if he picks up any damage on the right side of that 6-2. Looks clean to me. Well, it was clean to me. And the curse of the commentator strikes that, well, not the curse of the commentator. Aiden kind of strikes the wall in turn number 2. And yeah, now he's definitely got some damage on the outside of that car. This is the time, if Briley Wright was ever going to strike, he's got to smell the blood in the water. Coming off turn number 4, the gap is the closest it's been since Aiden Norman took the lead on lap 69, 11 laps ago. Norman got around car 2-9. He scrapes the wall again. He really wants to salute those fans down the Nellis back straight. No, Boeing back straight. I'm sorry. Nellis is in Las Vegas. And this just proves I know absolutely nothing. Aiden Norman continues to lead. That's all I know. 70 laps to go. And now he has a dilemma, because we've run our longest green flag run so far. Aiden Norman last pitted on lap 35, and if the Drip Diecast and Collectibles track facts are to be believed, Norman should be pitting within the next 5 laps. If it stays green, Norman could face himself in a lot of trouble. The 6-2 loose again, and Briley Wright now within 2 seconds. Norman goes around. Jeff No now behind Donald Ray. He wants his 4th place back. You've got 4th and 5th, Donald Ray and Jeff No. Kevin Feemster some 6 seconds behind them. And how about Cody Riggs on the move? Pitting on lap 66, Cody's got tires that are far more fresh than the rest of the field. 3 laps off the pace, Cody might gain a couple positions if a caution favors him and if he manages to stay off the wall. Kevin Feemster in the 1. Riley Wright gets around Aiden Norman, who decides to come into the pits on lap 83. Norman just couldn't quite make it to 50 laps, but there's still so much race to go. Your new leader in the 2-9, Riley Wright, 65 laps remain. Riley Wright now wants to come down pit road himself, and how about Myrtle Beach's Ryan Pennell? He last pitted on lap 42. Quick math will tell you Ryan wouldn't have to pit for another 6 laps. He's ahead of Jeff No by 3 seconds. Ryan hoping for that yellow now, maybe something, just to give him a little bit of fortune at his home race. Cody Riggs behind him with John Honeybrink in tow. How about Honeybrink to the inside? Pennell will just let them go like it was nothing. He still continues to lead. Jeff No, 2.8 seconds adrift. How about Thomas Andrews is going to be in the 3rd position? Kevin Feemster now 3 seconds off that pace. He's on his way down the open pit road. Green lights indicate that if they're flashing red, the driver receives a penalty, and he will have to move to the end of the line and the end of the longest line. Do they still call it that? End of the longest line? If somebody knows whether they still call the penalty end of the longest line, put it in the chat. Let us know. Ryan Pennell still leads. I think this is the first green flag cycle of pit stops as John Honeybrink, with a heavy pass, gets around Cody Riggs. Feemster's in the pits getting that tires, that fuel that's going to carry him not to the end. He still has one more pit stop to go. Feemster on his way out, and it seems like it's a bit of a lull. Some drivers just not coming down pit road now. Aiden Norman now getting around Ryan Pennell. Last time around, Norman puts up 30.38 seconds. Ryan Pennell, 33.05. Norman, more than 2.5 seconds quicker than the race leader, Ryan Pennell. If you've just tuned in, 61 laps to go next time. Myrtle Beach's Ryan Pennell still leads the race under this green flag cycle. Ray just went green, 30.10 seconds. Tommy Withers, 30.5 seconds. He also went green. They put in their personal bests. 89 laps about to be completed. Ryan Pennell with control of the field. Briley Wright will get around him. Last time through, Briley 30.4 seconds on fresh tires. This time through, 30.7. Aiden Norman 30.0, 7/10 quicker than Briley Wright, and he's trying to make up the time to Briley, and he's ahead of Briley while they're on that same lap. Jimmy Kerr now comes down pit road. And figure that I'm looking at these lap times now. I'm sorry, at the pit times. Briley and Aiden spending no more than 2/10 difference on pit road. Aiden Norman, his pit stop time, 15.37. Briley Wright's 15.10. Aiden Norman, now with Briley Wright 6 seconds behind him. Aiden came in before Briley with a damaged race car, and the gap between them was smaller than 4 seconds. The gap is now 6 seconds. 6 seconds. 4 seconds the gap when Aiden, no more than 4 seconds. I think it was about 2 seconds when Aiden came down into pit road. And now it's a 6-second gap despite both drivers having the same pit stop time and the same pit lane time. The almost the same delta to within about 3/10, give or take. And Briley now 5.5 seconds behind Aiden Norman. That right there is unbelievable. Aiden Norman just really taking the most advantage of the pit lane entrance exit, and he's got to have that speed down to an absolute science to be able to come back with that kind of gap. Season 4 champion Thomas Andrews on his way out of pit road. Ryan Pennell still hasn't come down. He has not pitted since lap 42, but he still has a 17-second gap to Aiden Norman. Both drivers separated by about 3 seconds every single lap. Looking at the lap times over the last 5 laps, and you can see Norman is really catching Ryan up by more than 2 seconds every lap on average. Aiden should get to Ryan in about 7 laps or less. Ryan's been on this cycle for 52 laps, and now he's in. There it is. The race leader, Ryan Pennell, decides that's enough. And fans across Myrtle Beach hoping he does not speed on his way into pit road. Ryan brings it in at a calm 60 miles an hour. Norman at 150, 160, about to hit 170 on his way into turn number 1. 45 laps to go? No, 55 laps to go. I can't do math, you know that. 55 laps to go. Aiden Norman, 6.2 seconds ahead of Briley Wright. Is Briley saving these tires? He last pitted on lap 84. Briley, nobody, as a matter of fact, can make it to the end. If they stretched it, drivers that came down pit road from here on to the end. So the very next pit stop for these drivers should be the last one of the race. Ryan Pennell will get around he'll be overtaken by Thomas Andrews. John Honeybrink will now overtake Ryan Pennell for 9th coming out of turn 2. Pennell on fresh tires. Honeybrink pitted 20 laps ago. 99 laps about to be completed. Ms. Moneypenny cheering for Aiden Norman. Local also cheering for Aiden Norman. Doug Norris would like to see Briley Wright at the top step of the podium. 51 laps from now. Anything's possible. That 7-second gap can't last forever, and we'll see what Briley intends to do about that. No low batteries here. We're going to get charged up and go to the end. Tommy Withers behind Kevin Feemster by 1.5 seconds. Jeff No, 4 seconds ahead of Kevin Feemster. So drivers have their own space now. We've reached that point in the race where drivers kind of have the track to themselves, so to speak. And really, the only person that can beat them at this point is themselves. They have to hit their marks. They cannot make mistakes. With one pit stop to go, any time you have to spend fixing your car is just going to be less time racing at 150 miles an hour. Drivers have to be conscious of that, and they have to stay off those walls. Clearwater Assassin from Nassau in the Bahamas. Elridge George goes green, 30.46 seconds. 50% of the South Carolinians that started this race are still running it. Ryan Pinnell in the 1-2, down 4 places from where he started. By the opposite token, Jeff No, the race's hardest charger, up 9 places since the green flag flew under the setting sun of Darlington. 102 laps underway. And thank you so much for tuning in. Whether you just tuned in, whether you've been here since the green flag, doesn't matter. Thank you so much for being here. We can't do these broadcasts without you folks watching week in and week out. Thank you so very, very, very much. Next week, Lucas Oil Raceway. That's right, IRP. That's going to be just fantastic. You think these cars can do some awesome short track racing? Wait until we get to Lucas Oil IRP next week. Feemster getting into the wall. He was 1.5 seconds. Tommy Withers now trying to catch him up. 1.8 seconds the gap. Withers also getting into the wall a bit. Aiden Norman starting to chase him down. He's opened the lead to Briley Wright to 8 seconds. 8 seconds, coming to 45 laps to go. And one last pit stop on the agenda for these drivers. And Ms. Moneypenny just enjoying the sounds that these cars make. I mean, we're all here because we love racing, I think. Briley Wright, he's here because he wants to beat Aiden Norman. He still is well within a chance. Forget the numbers. There's 45 laps to go in this race. It's a very demanding racetrack. Aiden Norman has proved he can get into the wall, and he's proved that he's human, and he can actually make mistakes and wreck the race car. You can see he used that fast repair because he no longer has that damage on the left front corner of his car. Well, we'll see just how far this ends up going for him. 107 laps underway. I think we've had 4 cautions in tonight's race. Elridge George bringing out one of those yellows as he and the 18 car of Josh Garrison made contact. Jason Alexander crashed 8 laps later. Looks like just a disconnection there. How about Donald Ray, who also had an incident? Check this out. Ryan Pinnell and Donald Ray coming together. Tommy Withers had to avoid a big accident out of 4. And that earned him the Cole Trickle move of the race. Dustin Painter would get in another spot of trouble, though. Check out the 0-0. This time, Withers not so smooth. He gets caught up in an accident. Donald Ray follows him too. Oh, and Cody Rakes just squeezes through. And most recently on lap number 60, Josh Garrison goes around again in the 18. But he's got those careful hands. He keeps the Vigoro machine off the wall. Aiden Norman 7.8 seconds ahead of Briley Wright, so the lead's starting to just wither. Thomas Andrews just ahead of Aiden Norman. Tommy Withers in that 6th position. Both cars on the lead lap. Ryan Pennell currently the lucky dog as Norman approaches 40 laps to go. Feemster, 1.8 seconds ahead of Tommy Withers. Drivers have got to be careful of how long they stretch these tires now. They're getting into 40 laps of wear. And again, the Drip Diecast and Collectibles Race Facts telling you these drivers can go between 50 to 60 laps on one set of tires. Some more, some less. It all depends on just how hard they drive the car. Richie Catania sitting in 11th. He's only 7 seconds behind John Honeybrink in the 6th position, who's now coming down pit road as Catania wants to get around Withers. Withers is in the wall, and on lap 112, drivers struggling to find space between themselves. Aiden Norman now in conservation mode. He's still 8 seconds ahead of Briley Wright. Thomas Andrews within 0.4 to Tommy Withers. Let's go on board with the Season 4 champ. Four-tenths the gap now. Withers, Andrews separated, now within 0.3. Big tail whip for Tommy Withers. Thomas Andrews tries to go to the inside. Withers tries to keep it off the wall. They almost collide into turn number 1. Withers again into the safer barrier through 1. Keeps it out of 2. Thomas Andrews now into the 6th position. Aiden Norman watching all of this unfold, knowing any damage could be crucial to him winning his 5th race of the season. Coming to 35 laps to go. Drivers now with 30 laps of wear on their tires, so to speak, give or take. I said 40 earlier, but it's because I suck at math. Half a second between Andrews and Withers now. Aiden Norman starting to reel in the Winn-Dixie driver. Thomas Withers now the lucky dog, the first car 1 lap down. Ryan Pennell 12 seconds behind him. There is the Myrtle Beach driver who's closer to 9th than he is to 7th. Jimmy Kerr only 7 seconds off the pace. And Honeybrink still with some fight in him. The 20 Home Depot Impala goes green, 30.34 seconds for Honeybrink. Norman 8.3 seconds ahead of Briley Wright, with Donald Ray starting to creep in. Moneypenny tells me, don't say that I suck at math, say math sucks. You know what? I think we're both right on that one. Norman has been slowly getting away from Briley Wright, but Donald Ray now getting closer to Briley Wright. 1.7 seconds the gap, and the native of Rockwall, Texas, trying to climb just a bit closer. Those swag design points showing that Briley has a lot to gain. He's in that tie for 7th. Donald Ray sitting in the 12th position. About to catch up Tristan Catania, who's not here. His older brother, Richie, is in this race, but Tristan certainly is going to drop out of the points. And we said earlier in the show, there's going to be a massive shakeup in how the points work out. It's going to be unbelievable where these drivers end up with 4 races to go in this championship. Aiden Norman looking like he's going to extend the lead to an untouchable point with 4 races to go, but not the main story tonight, as many drivers in the top 10 not in the race tonight at Darlington. There's going to be a huge shakeup in the podium. Norman is in. Aiden Norman has decided he's going to come in on lap 120, so with 30 laps to go, he's on his way in. Briley Wright now becomes the new leader. 30 laps to go. The 2-9 Good Wrench Monte Carlo driver now to the top step. Donald Ray within 8/10 to him. Aiden Norman trying not to speed, going to bring that 6-2 to a halt, and it's 0 miles an hour for the North Carolinian, while Briley will also bring it in, so Donald Ray will accelerate past 135. 29 laps left to play. So much that can still happen. So many drivers going to lose their place in the point standings tonight. Prizes on the line 4 races from now, and next week, Thursday Night Thunder goes to Lucas Oil IRP. Ray may have just destroyed his podium chances on his way into pit road with a heavy slam on the outside of turn number 2. He has cheesed it along that safer barrier, and Ray now has to fix that damage. How much more time will it cost him? The native of Rockwall, Texas, has hit a wall. Jeff No now ascends to position number 1 with a blink, and Thomas Andrews comes up behind him. No hasn't pitted since lap 87. Thomas Andrews since lap 91. Norman now out of the pits and ahead of Briley Wright by, would you believe it, 11 seconds. 11 seconds. Aiden Norman gaining another 3 seconds in that pit stop cycle. 8 seconds the gap before. Both drivers now out of pit lane. 11 seconds now the gap between them. So Aiden gaining 6 seconds during that first green flag pit stop cycle, and now another 3 seconds in the second green flag pit stop cycle. And again, someone please feel free to fact check me. Math is not my forte. And guess who's just gone purple? 29.88 seconds. Aiden Norman with the fastest lap of the race, the only lap of the race under 30 seconds. 25 laps to go, this time by Jeff No. Leading Thomas Andrews by 1 3/4 seconds and shrinking. Feemster is in. K. Feem is going to bring the Pennzoil Chevrolet for tires, fuel, and maybe some Bondo to finish up the right side of that race car, Kevin. What have you done? No, still out on the racetrack with a quarter left to play. Up 12 seconds. Feemster now back onto the racetrack, 1 lap off the pace, trying to chase down Elrich George. Jeff No decides he's going to come in. Aiden Norman in second, 4 seconds off the pace of Thomas Andrews. Last time around, 31.82 for the Season 4 champion. The Season 5 champion, 29.93. Aiden Norman will catch Andrews in just 2 laps, although Andrews did lead that last lap, and down the Boeing straightaway, Andrews has no intentions of coming into pit road. He's going to make Norman take him alive. Andrews still leads off of turn number 2. Aiden Norman quick to overtake. And Ryan Pennell ending up 3 seconds ahead of Briley Wright. Maybe Ryan going for... No, he had a 15-second pit time, so not sure what happened there. Doesn't look like any penalties to Briley Wright as well. Donald Ray has gone green, 29.91 seconds. Fastest time for Rockwall's Donald Ray, with a total pit stop time of 14.87, so hopefully he had one of those fast repairs in the back pocket. Jimmy Kerr trying to chase him down, but how about the move for the lead? Aiden Norman going to get around Thomas Andrews with 21 1/2 laps remaining. Is he going to pull it off out of turn number 2? He will indeed, but he's got to make it stick. Drag race into 3, the sun gleaming off the seams in the racetrack, and there is the race's new leader, Aiden Norman, to the top. Riley right now chasing down Ryan Pennell, who has not pitted since lap 94. Ryan going to try and go the distance, possibly. We'll see how that works out for him. I bet if a late race caution comes out, Ryan, who's still on the lead lap, knows there's only 5 cars on the lead lap. If he still has a set of tires left to put on that 12 car, you best believe he's going to come down pit road and put those Goodyears on. Briley Wright in third with a big tail whip, running away from Ryan Pennell. Elrich George now catching up to Jeff No for the 8th position. Elrich George with a big slowdown out of turn number 2. So now Jeff No gets to a 3-second gap ahead. Kevin Feemster with damage on the right front corner, now behind Briley. Thomas Andrews back out. Nope, Thomas Andrews still hasn't pitted. He's not back out on the racetrack. Possibly he and Ryan Pennell with the same strategy. This is going to be huge for those point standings. And I just keep referring to this because I'm so excited to see where these numbers turn out. Unofficially, of course, but where these numbers turn out once the checkered flag flies. We've got 17 more laps until we find out. 6.5 seconds the gap between first and second, while Donald Ray comes up behind Ryan Pennell. Here's that battle for 4th. Ray to the inside. Pennell can't really put up that much of a fight when they've got 22 laps of difference in their tires. And Donald Ray now moves into 4th. Richie Catania in car 24, now chasing down Jimmy Kerr, who just went green. 30.45 seconds as Kevin Feemster can't keep his car in a straight line. The number 1 now about to gain another position as Thomas Andrews comes down into the pits, and he has had enough. That means Ryan Pennell is shortly to follow. Norman leads by 7.6 seconds. Pennell decides he's still going to stay out. And there's no sound coming out of the 12. Oh, he's cutting the engine. Brilliant move to save fuel. Have another listen when he goes into 3. He's going to cut the engine off to save that gas. Ryan in 4th. Lucky number 13 laps to go. Aiden Norman leading Briley Wright by 13 seconds now. A very Belleville-like performance. Not quite to the level of domination that Noah put on at, goodness, where were we last week? Milwaukee. But a pretty good performance nonetheless. It's going to be his 5th win of the season if he can hang on for another 12 and a half laps. Thomas Andrews now catching up to Elrich George. This, the battle for the 8th position, coming to a dozen laps left. From any angle, it is such an intimidating racetrack. Drivers have to be on their game for every single lap, and around this 1 1/3 mile racetrack, 150 of them will be completed, and it's never easy. Andrews getting around Elrich George on that last onboard, so that's going to put them 8th and 9th respectively, as Aiden Norman now comes up to try and put Elrich George a second lap down, and he does. Tommy Withers, currently the lucky dog, in the 5th position. If the caution comes out, he gets his lap back. Ryan Pennell still has not come down pit road. He's not pitted since lap 94, so going all the way to the end would be about a 55-lap run. And inside of the final 10 laps, if a yellow flag comes out, Ryan Pennell is going to be in an extremely good position to win this race, and Aiden Norman's work will have been all for nothing. 14 seconds, the gap now from the North Carolinian down to the Kentucky driver. The 29 Bluegrass Bandit sits ahead of the Texan Donald Ray in the number 5 Cheez-It Chevrolet. Catania gets out of the way of Feemster. Andrews goes green, 30.35 seconds. "14 seconds, the gap between them. Riley Wright 6 seconds ahead of Donald Ray. John Honeybrink now battling with JK3 for that 10th position. The 7.5 behind the 2.0. And that's the pass for 10th. Kerr will make it stick, and Jimmy Kerr gets into that top 10. Honeybrink has 7 more laps to get it back. 6/10 the gap now between 10th and 11th. And Kerr now peeling away. Riley Wright now getting around John Honeybrink, who scrapes off the wall, and there's just always a sense of danger at this racetrack. Always a chance to get caught up either in your own mess or someone else's mess. To have the focus to not crash is just aching. It is draining on the mind. Can you imagine what it's like when you're actually racing a stock car around here? Awesome stuff. How about, is that Jimmy Kerr? No, that's Cody Riggs in the number 3. He's going to come down pit road, and the number 3 now could be in a deep spot of trouble here. He might be trying to get that damage repaired on the Summertime Delight Impala. No, he's staying out. He's going to soldier on. Hats off to Cody Riggs in that number 3. And there is the car he's throwing it back to, Mr. Rick Rowland. And, well, Cody puts it in the wall one more time for Rick. Jeff No gets around him. Coming to 4 laps to go, and Cody probably missed the pit road entrance last time around, and that looks like exactly what happens this time. Cody will make it down into the pits. Coming to 4 laps to go, Aiden Norman 15 seconds ahead of Briley Wright. Just half a lap now is the gap between Norman and Wright. Donald Ray still in 3rd. He's trying to catch up to Briley. 4.8 seconds the gap between them. And over the last 5 laps, Donald just not catching Briley up enough to get that 2nd place, but he can certainly lose 3rd if he spins it out. He's like everybody. They just have to stay on top of it. Honeybrink trying to get to the inside of No, not for position. These guys are a lap apart. Honeybrink's in the wall. Donald Ray just escapes contact with Honeybrink. And now that's all Aiden Norman can hope for, is that he stays off the wall just like that, and that a caution doesn't come out. He's got just a little more than 2.5 miles to make it to win number 5 on the season. Two to go. JK 3 seconds behind Elrich George. Thomas Andrews 1.5 seconds behind Kevin Feemster. If he can get to Feemster, that will be the move for 7th. And another look at those swag design points. Andrews could really use that boost. He could find himself 7th by second in the points by race's end. It's going to be a shocker what happens to these points. White flag is out. Thomas Andrews now to the inside of Kevin Feemster. He's going to get to the inside for that 7th place. Feemster just can't hold on, and the New Jersey pilot gets around Feem for 7th. White flag now for Thomas Andrews, Kevin Feemster, and company. But for this driver, one Aiden Norman, it's win number 5 on the season. He has tamed the lady in black. Norman deservedly does his donuts. Drivers come to congratulate the North Carolinian. He wins his race at Darlington. Briley Wright and Cody Riggs offering congratulations. And we're going to collect our top 3 and go to the podium, fans. Don't go anywhere. Top 3 interviews in just a moment. On the podium now with our top three, starting with the pride of Rockwall, Texas. One, Donald Ray with the podium tonight. Jacket, when's the last time you were on the podium, man? Congratulations on third.
Man, I honestly don't remember. I try and not carry this stuff with me, but tonight was a good race. Started off a little rough there for everybody. I think we had 3 cautions in the first 30-something laps, but after that it went green and it was a lot of fun. I had a lot higher expectations for how I finished tonight. I love this track. Um, I thought I had a shot for Aiden there before the race started. Figured out pretty quick that I don't think anybody had anything for him. He's just on another level. I still think he's on a controller, but no, I'm just kidding. I know he's not on a controller. Dude's just talented, super fast, super consistent, super clean. Probably has the lowest amount of incident points of anybody in the race, if I was to guess. But I'm happy with the third place. It's helps me in the points. Hopefully we keep jumping up. I'm probably gonna miss another couple weeks here pretty soon. Got vacation coming up next month, but we'll just see how it goes.
We talked earlier, you got the second highest average finish of, well, no, I think besides Seth Wanting and Aiden Norman, no one has a higher average finish than you. So it's every time you do a race, you're definitely a contender for the top 10. Congratulations on third, Jacket.
I appreciate you, buddy.
Briley Wright from Greensburg, Kentucky, one of the 2 Bluegrass Bandits in tonight's race with a silver medal. Briley, for a long point in that race, you had it by the scruff of the neck. You still had a great points day. You're up to 5th in the points, 2 ahead of Ryan Pennell, 17 off Dustin Painter going into Lucas Oil IRP next week.
Yeah, just didn't have nothing for that 62 car. These second place and third place finishes kind of suck. I like it for the team. I know that there's really not any teams in TNT, but you know, me and Aiden are pretty much teammates elsewhere. So I like seeing him win and all that stuff. But I'm gonna have to get him one of these days.
Maybe next week at Lucas Oil IRP, man. What do you got for us there?
I don't know, man. I don't have that much confidence there. I had a lot of confidence coming into this race. I thought for sure I would have. I thought I'd been a whole lot closer to him, but man, he just outrun us today, and we'll get him sometime, man. I don't know if it'll be next weekend, but we'll get him one of them.
We'll see you next week, Briley. Congratulations on second.
Alrighty, see you, Rick.
Race winner in the 6-2, Aiden Norman, 5th win on the season. It's now a 69-point gap between you and season 4 champion Thomas Andrews. And we head next week into IRP. Is it going to be 6 wins 7 nights from now?
Probably not. I think Milwaukee proved that.
No, we're not doing this because you say this every time, man. 2 weeks ago, you said you weren't going to be in contention at Milwaukee, and you did have a few spins. But that being said, come on, man. Where is the confidence, Aiden?
Not on flat tracks. I mean, I was about to point out Milwaukee. I mean, flat tracks are probably my biggest weakness. I've never really been able to figure them out or run good there. You know, pointing back to Martinsville last season as well. I think I finished outside the top 10 there. I mean, I like my banking and I like my road courses, but something about flat turning left ovals or flat left-hand turning ovals, I just can't do.
We'll see what happens in 7 days' time, but you have an amazing lead now. 69 points with 4 races to go. Congratulations on the win, Aiden. We'll see you in a week.
Yep, thank you, Rick.
Fans at home, that closes another chapter of Thursday Night Thunder Racing. Next week, again, coming to you right here on Rick James TV from Lucas Oil IRP. And if you just can't wait that long, Monday night, ENEA from Martinsville. Check that out also here on Rick James TV. And until that next race, everybody, please stay safe. Do